This is Gil Berry from GB and Others, and today I'm going to do a writing post-mortem on my book, This Indigo City, which released a few weeks ago. If you want to read it, the links will be in the description, and I'll have a few other links to my socials down there as well. So the basic idea, I wanted to explore how there's kind of this contrast, how some people believe that the rural homestead kind of nature provides to a greater truth than the busy inner workings of the technological world. But I kind of wanted to explore the opposite of that presumption. I wanted to see how actually confronting the busyness of our lives in these modern cities could reveal greater truths than those found in the rural peace. And I also wanted to go into a little bit about autism, as that's been a big part of my life. So I wanted to really show what it's like to take care of a person with autism. And also, while in a busy city of Los Angeles, I think it just adds quite a lot of drama, and it created an interesting plot. So yeah, that was the basis for the story. Here's the blurb if you want to read it. It'll be on the Amazon page as well. Ignore the top line. I was trying to do marketing, but it just sounds narcissistic, to be honest, because I don't know why anybody would hold back in any book. Like, if you're holding back, like, that's kind of cringe. You got to put out what you're actually thinking, unless it's like hateful ideas, then you should probably like consider what you're thinking about then. But yeah, so it's a story about identity, autism, and a few different stuff. Neurodiversity, I guess. There were some characters who had who were neurodivergent, who didn't have autism in the book. So it was about people who are not normal, basically. Oh wow, I wonder where I've heard that before. What a quirky premise. Okay, here were the goals that I had. So these are in order from most important to least important. Number 1, finish a short non-sci-fi novel. I was aiming for around 55k words for this one, and I did not want any sci-fi elements in it, because I usually put sci-fi elements even in the novels that seem to be realism. But yeah. Number 2, give a realistic insight to how an autistic person thinks. I think, honestly, literature has absolutely failed people with autism. There's like a few books that you hear about it. Like, I know The Curious Incident of the Dog in the Nighttime, but not to like dog on that author, if you get the pun. But I think it's a pretty bad portrayal of autism, personally. I think putting that out for people to read and people are like, this is what autism is a very bad thing. You really want to portray the spectrum of it. But yeah, I'll get into this later when I analyze if I did the goal or not. And number 3, I wanted to create something marketable. Definitely much lower priority than 1 and 2. And then number 4, comfort my fear of losing my memory. That one was like kind of an emotional stake for this book, and yeah, we'll discuss it later. So assessing these goals, I did finish it. However, I had completely overscoped, and there were too many character arcs, and it ended up being 70k words, and it really could have been 75k or 80k, which was just not what I wanted, because I had a really short time frame to complete this novel. So I didn't want to have to write a ton. I didn't want to have to edit more, But yeah, so only really 50% completed this goal. Give a realistic insight to how an autistic person thinks. That should be into. I made a grammar error. I get it. All right. This was a very hard goal, and I don't even know if it's actually attainable, because it's such a broad spectrum. As I said, you got to have a ton of characters. I think there are around four characters on the spectrum in this novel, and they're all kind of on different ends of it. There are some very low functioning people with autism. There's also high functioning autism where you didn't really realize it. Not to spoil any of the story, go read it yourself if you want to know who has what and how it was displayed. But yeah, I think I did pretty good, because I did have the multiple parts of the spectrum, so I didn't give a one-dimensional depiction of autism, which I really was hoping not to do. So I'm glad that didn't happen. And I think it did pretty well, but autism is really so complex that if you wanted to actually depict all of it, then the novel would be really long. But that being said, I would love to depict more of it because I think it's an important thing for people to learn about. So I'm definitely going to write more about it, but I would consider this goal successful. Number 3, create something marketable. I'm actually not sure. I'm still working on marketing it this week, but I think the focus on neurodivergence will help, maybe, but I'm really not sure. The audience is around 18 to 30 years old. I don't know. I really don't know. This one's like, I can't really say if I finish this goal or not. So maybe I'm doing this assessment a little too early. Number 4, I did not complete this one. This one is a hard theme to do because you really got to go through personal change in the book. While I did find some consolation through writing the story, there's still like ties that I didn't thematically like resolve at the end. So yeah, I don't know. It ended up being more of a drama rather than a philosophical essay. Sort of like my previous book, Beyond All Stars, was very philosophical. It had a character arc that kind of wrapped nicely in a circle, but this one was a little bit of a loose yarn, I'll say. So I'll just give a brief overview of the writing process. The first sprint plotted for around 1 week, or I actually should mention, before this, I had around a month where I was just thinking about the book, gathering ideas, gathering characters, gathering things I wanted to have in it, specific events, especially if autism, there's a lot of specific things that you want to portray to make an accurate portrayal. So I was just jogging notes down on, all of that, jotting notes. But yeah, the real first sprint was where I plotted for a week. I got most of the story arcs figured out. Obviously, there are some things that were changed later on in the editing stages, but yeah. Then I would spend 3 weeks working on my other novel, and in that time frame, I basically got it ready for release and released that pretty quickly. Then I did a second sprint, right, first half of draft. That was about 5 days. I completed around 25K words then. Then I spent 2 weeks finishing up that other novel. That was the real release, the final edits, after the composition stage, and it was just grammar and everything like that. So I think copy editing, yeah. And then third sprint, right, second half to draft, that was 9 days. That took a little longer than I expected. I usually go around 5 to 6K words per day if I'm, in the zone, but I was in a little rut for part of it. But I did get through it, and I did finish the draft after that third sprint. And finally, 2 weeks to gather feedback from the readers. I kind of was just thinking about the novel during this one, gathering feedback for myself as well, because that's important, but I wasn't touching the actual draft. Then after my early readers read it and they gave me feedback, I did the fourth sprint, which was editing, this is the fastest I've ever edited an entire manuscript, which I did it in 12 days, which was honestly, I don't know how the fuck I did it. I definitely didn't do it as in-depth. I didn't take out 10K chunk of the book, and I didn't really take much out, actually. I definitely underwrote on this because I overscoped in the first place. So I actually ended up adding, I think, 15,000 words to it, which is not necessarily a red flag. I think it just depends on your writing style. But yeah, that was the writing process. So the postmortem on this, I did it too fast. I think it was an incredible experiment, and if it actually was 50K words around there, I think it's a decent amount of time to actually write something like this. But since it was much longer and it ended up being more complex, I should have spent a little longer on it. But I still think the product was good enough, and I think that mostly came down to luck. Like, writing a whole novel in 3 months, you're not going to always get a perfect product. It really has, the stars got to align for, on this one, I never got sick once. So I literally plotted this with no emergency days. If I got sick, I probably wouldn't have finished it anywhere near this time frame because I would have just set everything off. But I didn't get sick at all, which I was extremely lucky to have that happen. And, it helped a lot. But yeah, 3 months, pretty crazy. So I guess a lot of you are probably like, okay, this is just a polished draft because you didn't really decompose the entire novel after the first editing stage. And you're kind of right, it is. I think most great books should have a completely failed draft, and then they should use that failed draft and basically rewrite it as the second editing stage instead of just editing like a chopped book, So I'd like to do that for whatever I work on next. But I think honestly, there is some glory in publishing drafts as well, because like I'm talking about polished drafts. Like, don't publish dog shit with like horrible grammar. You know what I'm saying? Uh, but like for authors, monetization is a pretty bad problem. You cannot make good money as an author. Even like some really successful ones, like you're not gonna make much money in self-publishing and trad publishing. I mean, no, okay, really successful ones, you're making money, right? But like for good authors, I'm talking about people who pour their heart into these novels. Uh, Writing is just not cost effective. So I think maybe publishing polished drafts is cost effective if you have the fan base who would read for that, but I do not. So who knows? But maybe it's something I just need to work through. We'll see. So what could have been improved? Definitely, I needed to make it more focused, especially if I wanted it to be marketable. There's this conflict between memory loss, identity, and autism that kind of split the reader's attention. So I needed more like a real bold focus of it. So like I'm thinking like if I rewrite the story of some of the characters, I'll probably remove the memory loss component of it because it kind of detracted from the focus on autism, which is what I really wanted it to be focused on. But yeah, that was something I could improve upon. Sorry, my speech is getting out of hand. I've been talking for quite a while. In the second one, just I should not have put as many characters in this. That's as simple as it gets. Too many characters, and I overscoped. Because there are a few plot lines where it's just like these people are like, just get rid of them, But yeah. What went well? Passion. I cared a lot about the characters in this novel. I used to struggle with indifference. On the previous novel, that was a goal to get rid of. And on this one, like, I genuinely, like I was nearly tearing up while writing parts of it because I'm like, I love these people, man. It was quite wholesome. But yeah. And then also discipline. I was writing 10 plus hours a day when working on this novel, alongside a part-time job and schoolwork for part of the summer. And yeah, that was pretty crazy. And although it was written in a short time, I think like my productivity was at least times 3, like what some of the full-time authors like I know, like it was probably like, I don't know, it was crazy. I've never done anything like it before. I don't know if I would do it again because it was pretty unhealthy. I didn't exercise some of the days, and I don't know if I would recommend it. I think, but I could probably even get more productive. I'm not putting the ideas in my head though. Like I definitely need to exercise some days, and I need to eat healthy and all that. But for that, I was literally like working like 3 days in one. Like I know a lot of authors, they'll do like 5 to 6 hours of writing like a day. Most of them don't even do that. I think most do like 4. But and then they'll do like just like, I don't know, contemplation or like editing or like what is the like correspondence, Ursula K. Le Guin's schedule. But yeah, I was putting in a lot of hours per day on this, and it paid off because I finished it in quite a short time. And if I didn't put that much in, it would have taken around 8 to 9 months, which I think is around the average time that it takes to write a novel for someone who has writing experience. But yeah, I think passion and discipline, those are what went well in this. Nothing too technical to go over in the actual writing. So what's next? I love autism, and I want people to view it in more positive light. Therefore, I must keep writing about it more. So I think this means a novel fully focused on autism with less philosophical implications. I think this one did deal with some of my metaphysical theories, kind of that carried over from Bass, or aka Beyond All Stars. But I think I just want to write one about autism. I don't want to focus on memory loss or identity or any of that. And yeah, I just want to put, because I don't know. Anyways, more modern fiction. This was a urban tale, so it took place around 15 years ago. So around in 2000. Whoa, it's 2025. 20 years. It took place 20 years ago, compared to Beyond All Stars, which is my previous novel, which took place in around 1910. So yeah, quite a drastic difference. I definitely enjoyed this more than having to research a ton of stuff about the early Gilded Age. So I definitely want to write more modern fiction in the future. If you haven't read it, give it a read. This is the cover right here. It's on my Amazon, links in description. And as always, if you can't afford it, just email me. Money should not be a barrier in access to education and information. So I'm willing to send you guys free copies if you want it. Only digital copies though. I don't have physical copies. I don't even have a physical copy of this myself, actually. I should probably get one. I do have physical copies on the Amazon, but I don't know if they're formatted correctly because it was my first time making a physical copy for this book. But yeah, that's my postmortem, and I hope you enjoyed. Maybe it was a little insightful, maybe a little inspiring for you to write your own stuff. Hit me up in the comments if you got any writing stuff. And yeah, I have a Discord always. Just message me. Feel free to reach out. I'll be here. All right. See ya.